Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jared with the Inner Squared Circle, and today we're going to talk about how to get booked without being awkward. And this is a really important conversation because I don't know if you were like me, but in my career, there were these times when you'd want to reach out to a promoter and you wouldn't know what to say, or you had those moments where, like, you met someone in person or maybe through instant messenger or something, and you're not sure what to say, you're waiting for them to say something, or you just give them your entire life story, like, hey, my name is Jared, I've been wrestling for 20 years, and you give them like a whole 5 paragraph information, and you see that they read it, and then you get ignored, or they ask you, like, sure, hey, what's your rate, and then you have no idea what to say. Who here's been there before? Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. If we get this wrong, this ends up where a lot of wrestlers are stuck local. They know they're worth a lot more. They know they can get out more, but they just don't know how to get what they actually want. And it causes a lot of frustration. We don't want that for you guys. But if you get this right, this can be easy. This can be fun. This can be something where you guys actually make progress. And we're going to keep it really simple today and get down to basics. We're trying a different format today. So let's begin. There are three main challenges with getting booked, or three main things that come up a lot of times. Number one is you don't want to be a douchebag, right? We've all seen those guys where they reach out, they're like, yo, what's up? I'm the best guy in the business. Why aren't I getting booked? Or they just ask directly. And we've all, or most of us have, right, been brought up in the business where you have a passion for the business, you love it, and you don't want to come across as that guy. We've all seen that guy where they're just in it to get themselves over. They're in it to pat themselves on the back. They're not helpful. We've seen those guys. And believe it or not, like sometimes they actually get a little bit of progress, don't they, right? But we don't want to be that guy. And I'm sure we've seen some wrestlers like that where they haven't tried as hard, or they're blunt, or they have an ego, and sometimes they get the spots before you do, and like that frustrates you, so you don't really want to be that guy, right? You don't want to be that guy, but at the same time, you want to be able to put yourself out there. So we want to talk about how to not be a douchebag first of all, because I know many of you don't want to be that. The second thing, though, is in an effort to not be quote unquote that guy, a lot of us have learned to do the exact opposite. So I want you to picture for a moment there's a pendulum, right? You guys know what a pendulum is, where it's one of those things where you know it's like a string and there's like a big ball on it, and you bring it to one direction and the string stays in the middle. You let it go and it swings to the other side, right? It's like one of those grandfather clocks. So we don't want to be a douchebag, but what happens is many times in wrestling we've been brought up to be the exact opposite. Where either you've seen that guy, you don't want to be that guy, or you've been trained ears open, mouth shut, and you become a really, really nice guy. But like nice to the point where it's almost too much, right? Where you don't ask for what you want, you're afraid to stand out too much, you don't want to get heat, you don't really want to ask for what you want because if you do, maybe you won't get booked or maybe somebody won't like it. So we don't want to be too nice either. And then the third problem is you're doing everything they tell you is the quote unquote right way to do things. You're sending out promos, demo reels, things of that nature, and you're giving it your best shot, but you're getting ignored. Or if you're not getting ignored, you're hearing no. But I remember so many guys, I used to be in this situation too, but so many people reach out to me and they say, if they would at least reach out to me and tell me no, at least I would know. But these guys just ignore me. I know how you feel. So the three main challenges we're going to talk about today is you don't want to be a douchebag, you also don't want to be too nice or too timid, and you also don't want to keep hearing no or getting ignored. Right? We're going to keep this basic today because we're going to build on this as time goes on. What we want instead, though, is instead of being, instead of being a douchebag, we want to be cool and confident, right? Instead of being too nice or too timid, we want to be able to go for it, ask for what we want, and ask for it at the right time. Sometimes we delay too much. We don't ask for what we want because we're like, oh, well, now's not the right time. I don't want to bother them. So we want to be able to go for actually what we want, ask for it, and do it at the right times. And the third thing is instead of getting no or ignored, we want to have it be really easy for them to say yes to you. Do you guys follow me so far? Okay, great. So now there's a couple of subcategories here. Now, we want you to be able to know your value. We want you to be able to know your audience. We want you to know what to say, when to say it, and for them to be able to use you, make it be really low risk and really high reward. You guys follow me so far? All right, so let's begin. So the first thing, we talked about the first challenge. You don't want to be a douchebag, right? You want to be cool and confident. But so there's something that I've come up with. It's called the douchebag to nice guy ratio. So let's talk about this. When you're a douchebag, well, not you, but when you see those guys in the business, what are they all about? They're all about getting themselves over. They're all about, I want to get paid. They're all about putting themselves over on social media. We've all seen them before. They're the last to show up. They don't want to help out. They think they're owed something. They don't want to invest and grow their career. We've all seen that. They just think that they're entitled. So what we do is we swing the other way. And we swing the other way and we become like that second challenge, right? We're just too nice. But it's not that you're trying to be too nice, right? It's just that you actually have a lot of passion for the business. So on the other side of the spectrum, you have the douchebag that's all about themselves, but then we have these guys that really love the business, right? And they have a lot of passion about it, and they want to do the right thing, and they want to help out, and they want to be involved. That's not a bad quality in and of itself. Does that make sense? But the challenge is that the nice guy or the good worker oftentimes has a mindset problem. Not a problem, but it's a mindset that actually holds them back long term, where they don't put themselves out there, they're too timid, they don't ask for what they want, and they wait too long, or they're waiting for someone else to make decisions for them, right? So we've seen this before. A good worker gets into the show, he shows up early, he's not booked, but he's just trying to hang out there. He's got like a suit and tie on, he's like just being a wallflower, trying to be really polite, and he's waiting for the promoter to be like, oh, hey, that guy over there, come here, I noticed you helping out. Do you want a spot on the show? And then you get booked next month and the month after that, and then we're going to push you, right? A lot of times they're just waiting for something to happen. So we got these two extremes, the douchebag that's like, I'm owed everything. And then we got the other guy that's like, hey, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm just happy to help out. Hopefully someone will notice me. The challenge with one is the two extremes. If you got these two different extremes, either on one hand, you're going to get heat and bury yourself out of the business. And on the other hand, you're going to wait so long and be so nice that you're never going to go anywhere. So the key is to be somewhere in the middle. Does that make sense, right? You want to be somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be a douchebag and you don't want to be too nice. What you want to be instead is you want to be a great worker that has confident delivery, that knows what they want and knows how to ask for it. Now, this is probably a little bit deeper than we can get into in this seminar, in this portion, but I want you to think about it for a moment. Is there someone in pop culture, in wrestling, in your life, someone you grew up with, who is cool? Like maybe it's a TV show where they're a really cool guy and they get what they want and they're really confident and they're not a douchebag. Think about it. Let's think of some role models here. One that comes to mind immediately is The Rock, right? The Rock is super successful, but everything you hear about him, he's a great guy, right? You don't hear too many bad stories of The Rock being a douchebag to people, right? I don't think I've ever heard one of them. But he also is going to ask for what he wants, doesn't he? The highest paid actor in Hollywood, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, right? So think of these role models. Who is not too nice, who is not too douchebaggy. They get what they want, they're confident, and they go for it. We want to find that middle point between those two. You follow me on that? All right, so the second thing is you want to be able to have something to offer. If you're going to have confidence and you're going to know your value, you got to know that you have something to offer. So that's either you have a great character, you have a great work rate. Sometimes when I'm talking to wrestlers, what'll happen is promoters or bookers or even high-level agents, they're going to sit down and ask you, what is it about you that makes you special? Right? It's that million-dollar question. And when I'm coaching guys one-on-one, I would ask them that question, not to grill them, but as a preparation. Because they'd be like, hey, Jared, I want to double my bookings. I want to go email this promoter. I go, great. Well, what is it about you that stands out? And they'll usually say something like, well, I'm a great worker and I love this business. And I go, well, what else? I go, eventually, if I ask the question long enough, it comes down to, believe it or not, most wrestlers say, I don't know. They don't even know what they have to offer. So the challenge here is if you don't even know what you have to offer and you're going to email promoters trying to get bookings, but you're going based off of hope, like, hey, the strategy is sound. I'm going to go email a bunch of promoters and some of them have got to say yes. But if you're doing that and you don't know what you really have to offer, but you're hoping that somebody's going to find something that doesn't come from that doesn't come from a place of confidence. You see? You have to be solid that you have something to offer. Because when you have something to offer, either it's a unique character, or you have great work, or you have a great physical appearance, right? Like I don't want to downplay that. You know, if you guys are having a hard time in the wrestling business being told, hey, there's something missing, a lot of times what that thing that's missing is your appearance or your look or your character of some kind, right? So you're going to be so much more confident when you're reaching out to a promoter when you know that you have something to offer. Let's say, for example, I'm going to make it up. Okay, let's just use it for an example. Let's say Anthony Green, right? Anthony Green, now he's August Gray in WWE or NXT, but he before that in Evolve, what was he? He was the retro Anthony Green. He had a really cool character. He was going viral. People knew who he was. He had the Platinum Honeys with him, so he had a really cool act. How much more confident do you think he is reaching out to a promoter knowing he has something solid that's marketable behind him? 100% more confident. Now let's reverse this. Let's say we have a wrestler who has been relatively local, talented, good guys, passionate about the business, sends an email to a promoter though, and they go, man, black trunks, black boots, white boots, and they love the business. Hey, are there any spots available? How much more confident do you think that they're going to be when they're emailing a promoter? Not very. I think what happens is a lot of wrestlers go after hope. I'm going to blanket email people. I'm going to play the numbers game. Something's got to work, and someone's going to figure out something to do with me, right? It's like they're an orphan. No offense, I'm actually adopted, so I can say that. But yeah, it's almost like they're expecting that someone's going to discover them, and oh, hey, that's a pretty good guy with potential. I'm going to give him something. It doesn't work that way. Promoters are consumers. So what I mean by that is some promoters, if you got a good producer, they'll be able to see the potential in you. But a lot of times, and look at this now, a lot of times the people that are getting the spots are the ones that are already known somewhere else. So they're not going to hire based on potential. They're going to hire based on what's already working. You see? And then they're going to go like, oh, that's already working there. I'm going to take it and make it my own, right? So if you have something that's already working, you have something solid to offer, and you can prove it, you're going to feel more confident. They're going to feel more confident using you. You follow me so far? So that's the overview of that, which leads into being in demand. So being in demand, when you do this wrong, and we've all seen this before, and if you've done this, it's okay. I'm not calling you out, but I want to educate you now to help you out. Remember I said people want to use what's already working? Well, people want to be involved with the stuff that's already popular. People want to go with the people that are already cool, you see? So, for example, is the cute girl in school, is she going to go for the guy that no girls are interested in? Maybe. Or is the cute girl in school going to go for the guy that is confident, funny, and has all the girls that like him? It's one of those weird things. It's like they call it social proof. If nobody's interested, it means there must be something wrong with them. If everybody's interested, they must be doing something right. So wrestlers, in an attempt to want to do something to get more bookings, it's a really good thought, is they'll blanket post Facebook and say, I have all of these dates available, and they'll post their calendar, and it's like every week. It's like there's no bookings for like 3 months. And they go, who wants to use me? And there's really no response to that. It's a good effort, but there's no response because it's proving what? Inadvertently, what are you broadcasting? Yeah, you're broadcasting you're not in demand. You're broadcasting that nobody wants to use you. And I'm not saying that's the case, but that's the perception, right? So you don't want to do this perception of, hey, I have no bookings and I really hope someone gives me a chance. You want to be like, hey, I have one spot available and these are going fast, right? Or even better than that is actually have only one spot available. Actually be out there getting busy. People want to be involved with people that are already working. So let's take a look at your confidence level. If you're already in demand, if you already have a great character that's working and you're confident and you're able to ask for what you want, how much more likely are you to be able to present yourself to a promoter? So much more. And remember, perception's reality. So if you're not in demand yet, you don't have to language it in a way that you're not, right? And I'm all for being honest, but it's almost like there's over honesty. Like if you're gonna post on Facebook, hey guys, I've lost all my bookings and I don't know what's going on, and man, I really think I've lost a step or two, and I got the next 6 months free. If anybody wants to book me, that'd be cool. Right? It's a little bit too much info. You don't want to go that deep. It's like over honesty. But you're like, hey, you know what? I got a slow day this month. It's going fast. First come, first serve. Let me know who's interested. It's a whole different feel. You see what I'm saying? So you want to be in demand. And then the final thing here is you want to be the right fit. So first of all, do you fit in with the company? Do you fit in with the company? If you are, I remember this is actually an example from my old wrestling school. We were all like I'm not going to bury anybody, but my trainer taught us to be very 1970s, like NWA, AWA, Mid South type wrestlers. Like lock up, headlock, take the arm, but like not even athletic. Like I'm talking like we were basically like Frank Gotch. Like he was teaching us to be like Frank Gotch or Gorgeous George. I mean, even Gorgeous George probably had more charisma than some of us did in our wrestling school. That's what he taught us to do. And we were like, yeah, we're going to go email Ring of Honor. But Ring of Honor at the time, spots, high flying, lucha libre, Japanese type stuff, the code of honor. We were the furthest thing from a fit to that company. But in our mind, we're like, oh, well, it would be great because we would go in and we would be the anti-Ring of Honor guy. Like, so original. They already had Hurricane John Walters at the time, right? But we're all like, we'll be the anti-athletic guys. We'll be the anti-sports entertainment. We didn't fit in the company. Didn't make sense. So if you'll feel a lot more confident when you're emailing companies that you're aligned with. If you're a comedy guy and you go to something that's like really pure wrestling, might not be a fit. Maybe if the promoter's a fan of you or like they think that's cool, but it might not be a fit. But Chikara, if that's a thing, right? That might be a great fit for you. Something very character based. Think about that. Like, are you the right fit for that company? Plus, you want to be with some place that you're aligned with. And secondly, when you're getting bookings, you want to make sure, can they actually even pay you? Because I can't tell you the number of wrestlers that get frustrated that a promoter can't pay them. But I want you to think of the numbers here. If you're working a local show at a VFW and there's 50 people in the seats, they can't pay you $150. Not that you're not worth it, it's just they don't have it, right? I've been to local wrestling shows where I helped out, and I literally saw the promoter give out his last dime to one of the workers because those are the breaks when it's local. So don't think they're just screwing you over sometimes. Like sometimes they really can't pay you. Like if you want to get the $50, $100, $150 paydays, you got to make sure that you're working places that can like afford that. You see? But just don't be one of the guys that's like, well, no, I'm worth 250, and then you go to like a local place that has like 10 people in the crowd. Just kind of manage your expectations. That's what I'm trying to say. Just manage your expectations. So to sum this up, the douchebag to nice guy ratio, you don't want to be all about yourself, but you don't want to be too nice either. You got to be right in the middle. So find a role model for that. The second thing is you're going to be so much more confident when you have something to offer. An awesome character, an awesome work rate, something that's already working, and be able to prove that. And then be in demand. The best way to be in demand is by really being in demand, being busy, right? Get your calendar filled. If it's not filled, you don't have to word it in a way that you're hoping for your first booking ever, right? Like you don't have to be like, you don't want to book me, do you? Because no one else does. Don't be like that, right? Like put yourself in a position, perception's reality, be smart about it. And then finally, make sure you're the right fit. You don't want to go in and be like, yeah, well, I don't fit your company at all, but I'm going to be the anti your company. Maybe it'll work, chances are it won't. And you're going to feel a lot better reaching out to somebody that's a great fit. As a matter of fact, there was a guy that just reached out. He's part of one of my programs, and he reached out. He's like, hey, I want to reach out to this company, and they're like a real comedy type company. And I told him, I'm like, write a really like funny. What did I tell him to do? I told him there's all these Hallmark movies, and I said, email this guy or Facebook message this guy and tell him your promotion is like a big city girl who's a career woman in the city, and that your wrestling character is like a Hallmark hunk ready to tell her the reason for the season. And he sent it, and the guy goes, "Oh my God, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. We need to talk." Right? It was the right thing at the right fit for the right company. It worked out. Right? That's what I mean. Make sure you're the right fit. Now, the next thing, we want to get you booked. The next challenge, we talked about too nice, too timid. The real problem is that they don't go for it at all. So we want to be able to go for it at the right time. We want to be able to know what to say and when to say it. So the first thing we want to take care of with this section of our triangle is we want to get over this awkward never ask. I said this in one of the things that we've done before. If you're part of booking emails that don't suck, you'll remember this. It's called wrestlers have a weird mentality where they try to get what they want by not asking for what they want. Let me say that again. Wrestlers try to get what they want by not asking for what they want. So what does that look like? I'm sure you've either seen this or you've done this before. You email a promoter or you see a promoter and you're like, "Hey, how are you?" And it's like, "I'm really happy to be here. I'll do anything you want. You don't have to book me. No, seriously, you don't have to book me. I have my boots here, though. Don't feel pressured to book me. I'm really happy to work for free. If you have money, cool, but I'm not asking for it. I'm going to be over there." Now, that's not true, right? They want to get paid, they want to work, but they're afraid to ask for it. So they do this whole thing of like, "Oh no, oh no." You ever got to eat with your grandma, right? And like this happened to me. My grandma would try to pay the bill, and then my parents would be like, "No, grandma, you don't pay the bill. We're going to pay the bill." She's like, "No, we'll pay the bill." "No, no, we could never." No. It's like "Oh, you shouldn't have given me that gift." "No, you shouldn't have." It's this weird like rejecting of what you want, but you really want it, right? Or that meme when it's grandma memes today, when your grandma gives you like $100 all in ones for your birthday, and all the money falls out, and you're like trying to stare at the card and not stare at the like, "Oh, that's such a sweet card. Thank you, grandma." And like meanwhile, like you're trying to get the money off the ground. What I'm saying is, don't do this weird passive "don't ask for what you want" thing. A lot of times what wrestlers do too is they'll reach out to a promoter or a booker for the first time, like, "Hey, how are you? My name is such and such." And it's a message or an email, and they never ask for the booking. They never ask for what they want. They never ask for the next step. It's just they just send out their stuff, and they're like, "Hey, my name is so and so. I've been wrestling for this many years. Here's my demo reel. Thank you. Hope to hear from you soon." But there's no asking. You see? If you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't ask, you don't get. So when you're sending an email out or you're reaching out to a promoter, you're like, "Here's my demo reel. What do you think?" You're not really asking for advice. Sometimes you might be. You're really asking for the next step. You're really asking for bookings. But I was talking to a guy the other day. We were doing these phone calls. And he goes, "Hey, I keep asking, they keep telling me that I'm doing a great job and nothing's missing. And I keep saying, what else do I have to do?" And they give me more advice of other things I have to do. But I've been going back and forth there like 5 times. How come they're not giving me a contract? I said, "Because you're asking them, what else do I need to do?" So they're answering you. You're asking for, what other hoops do I have to jump through? Lose 5 pounds, cut your hair, get a different pair of trunks. The question you're asking is, what else do I have to do? You're not asking when's the time we can get started, right? I know it sounds like a small difference, but it matters. You see, what you're asking for, you'll get. So if you send an email out to a promoter, you say, "Hey, here's my demo reel. Tell me all the ways I need to improve." You're asking them to take a look at your demo reel and find all the mistakes. That's not what you really want, is it? But if you send out a email to a promoter and you say, "Hey, could you take a look at this and how might we be a great fit together?" It's a totally different question. So don't do that thing where you email a promoter or you message a promoter and you're not asking for what you want. Or the other thing too is I've seen this. Um, you just kind of like stare at each other. You know what I'm talking about? Like you just kind of like stare at each other, and the promoter knows you want to get booked, and you know you want to get booked, but you're not asking for it, and he's not going to say anything. So you're just like, you just get like, and just standing there, and nothing really happens. It's awkward. Or I'm sure you've seen it where the promoter Facebook messages you, and you type something, you delete it, then you type it again, you delete it, and you don't know what to say, and you're just kind of waiting for them. Don't do that, right? You want to go for it at the right time. So the way to fix that is to just make it be quick and easy. You don't have to make this awkward. You don't have to make it weird. What I see many people do is they go for the jugular right away. And they send people paragraphs like, "Hey sir, how are you? My name is such and such. Am in this area. I've loved wrestling since I was 9, and then at 20 I did this, and then I graduated this." And it's like picture it. Maybe you're guilty of this, or maybe you know someone that is. But you send out you got to scroll 3 or 4 times to finish the message. It's just too long. It's just really too long. We're gonna talk about it later, like high risk, low reward. Nobody wants to read all of that, especially at the beginning. So you want to make it quick and easy. Make a quick introduction. Be cool. Like, "Hey, I'm Jared. How you doing? You have an awesome promotion. I'd love to hear more about it." Just really easy. "Hey, when's the next show coming up? Are you looking for any more wrestlers? Who do I reach out to get booked?" Keep it really quick, really easy, really simple. You don't have to share your whole life story yet, right? And then the third thing is, don't be needy. Someone asked me the question, what's the difference between persistence and annoying? And I'll share it with you. It's energy. 100% it's energy. Remember we talked about that mindset, being too nice, too timid, being the douchebag. You want to be right in the middle. So you don't want to be, "Hey, where's my booking? How come you didn't get back to me?" Or don't be, "Oh, sir, please, I haven't heard back from you." There was somebody, I'm not going to mention your names. I'm on Facebook Messenger, and believe it or not, I'm not just standing by my messenger all day waiting to answer wrestling questions. No offense. And somebody messaged me, and he's like, "Hey, I'm really, I need help with this, and this." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Tell me a little bit more about that." And then he responded again, but but I was in the car. And then me and my girlfriend went out for dinner. And then it was around Christmas time. So we went out for dinner. We went Christmas shopping. We saw some trees. We saw some Christmas lights. I got home at like midnight. I got to bed, not really checking my phone. I wake up in the morning at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I had like 15 messages from this guy. "If you just look at my messages, I promise, I'm worth your time. And, I promise you, I'm really worth it. And I have so much And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not ignoring you." I'm really not. I just have a little bit of a life, and I didn't read it right away. Like, give me a chance to get back to you. Don't have that neediness about you, right? Like, if someone's not responding to you, are there times when you don't respond to a message? Are there times when you get busy? Don't be needy. Don't have that neediness, right? Like, they can smell that a mile away. And like, I'm helpful, but like that was like a teaching moment. I go, "I want to let you know, like, I'm still going to help you out, but the way that you came across was so needy that my first reaction was I wanted to run away from you." Right? Like, picture that. Like, picture when somebody's really needy towards you. "Oh, come on, help me out, brother, help." Like, they mean well, but it kind of pushes you away, doesn't it? Right? So don't be needy, and it's all about energy. So let's go back to, the Rock example. What would The Rock do? Like, maybe that should be like a bracelet. What would The Rock do? What would WWDJD, right? Dwayne Johnson. What would he do? Like, think about it. He would reach out. Nobody would respond to him. He'd reach out again. "Hey, just checking in." Cool. All right. Move on. After a certain point, like, there's no need to keep following up. Like you guys, you have the authority to just say, "That's not working for me. They're ignoring me. They're not worth my time anymore." Like, you can cut that out of your life, right? Like, there's no obligation for you to keep trying for years, but just be persistent and have an energy about it. Like, if you have the energy of annoying, it's going to come across as annoying. If you have the energy of, "Hey, just checking in," they're going to feel that, and it's going to be a totally different thing. Which goes to the next point, which is just build a relationship. Build a relationship with these people. I had a great relationship with one of the people in the office from Impact Wrestling. what? Oh my God, what was his? I got a great relationship. I forgot his name. What was his name? His first name was Sean. He was in the office. He wasn't actually like in the business. He was like an office guy, but he was in charge of booking and productions. He was a really, really good guy. Um, but so I would contact him back and forth for a while. And it was like talking to I never met the guy in person. He was never at the impact zone when I was there, but we just had such a good relationship. And he didn't use me all the time, but it was like, hey, what's up, Sean? It's Jared, just checking in with you. How's everything in life? Oh, Jared, great to hear from you. Things are good. Oh, we just updated this at the office. I'm like, that sounds really cool. Hey, here's my latest demo reel if you want to see what I've been up to. Oh, so glad, man. I got a spot for you in March. Cool. Like it was just so not a big deal, right? It's like talking to an old friend. That's a really good energy to be in. So build a relationship, right? And be ready when they are. Because wrestlers go for the home run. I've seen it all the time. They send out, let's go through all of these. They either don't ask for what they want, they send out their whole life story, they send out one email, the email gets ignored, and they go, oh my God, it's over. You're not going to get booked on the first go. Rarely. You got to build a relationship. Only very few people will be ready to book you immediately because they got a promotion, they got their own stuff going on, they got their own roster. When I was doing Paragon Pro Wrestling, let's face it, like managers aren't really that well known on like television, right? There's a few of them, but it's not like what it used to be. And we already had a manager at Paragon Pro Wrestling, and somebody was emailing me saying, hey man, I want to come in, can I be a manager? And I go, we don't really have a spot for a manager right now. It's like, oh, come on, brother, look at how talented I am. I go, it has nothing to do with your talent. There's just not a spot yet. If that manager leaves or the storyline changes or we have somebody else, but we're just not ready right now. So it wasn't a rejection of that guy. It was just, it didn't make sense for what we were doing. Maybe there's not enough room in the budget. Maybe they can only bring 10 guys to the show. Maybe you require a flight or hotel. There's all these different reasons, right? But they're probably not going to be ready for you on the first email. And I think a lot of wrestlers think they're going to send the magic email, the magic producer is going to open this up and read the autobiography and be like, just like transfixed, like, wow, at 9 he watched his first WrestleMania. This is the guy, right? And then bring him in and say, you're worth 250 plus a flight. Please, what were you waiting for? I can't believe it took you this long to email me. It's the chances are like zero for that. Build a relationship because they're not going to be ready for you right away. So you want to stay in touch with them, build a relationship, and when they're ready for you, when you're top of mind, when you continue to be top of mind and a spot opens up, who's going to get it? The top of mind person that has been cool, has been talking to them for a while, that's built a relationship. You see? It's pretty simple when you think about it. So now we're going to move to the next thing here. Here's what we talked about. Remember we talked about be ready. So here's like a little graph to really to give you a visual. So when you first meet a promoter, when you first contact a promoter, like 80 to 90% of the time, they're going to need more time. The amount of promoters that are ready to book you right now is like less than 10%. 10% is generous. A few, maybe, are going to be ready right now. And I'm just making, like, these aren't like hard and fast numbers, but just practically, it's a good model. Like out of every 10 promotions, like maybe 1 or 2 might be ready to talk about using you now. Does that make sense? But what a lot of guys do, take a look at this. If you see the circles, you see how this red circle goes mostly all the way to the right? That's because, like, there's a time of like quote unquote dating, right? Like there's like a dating period. They're gonna get to know you. But a majority of wrestlers right at the front end, send out a huge email. They sound the same as everybody. They're asking for a tape review, right? So if you send them a 20-minute match, hey, how are you? Here's my 5-paragraph email. Can you watch my 20-minute match and give me a tape review? Why aren't you booking me? And then they ask for a booking right away, or they don't. They're like, what's the next step? Or they just go, looking forward to hearing from you, and then they never follow up. And they go, I don't know why it didn't work. Right? So what you want to do instead is what we have over on the right is build a relationship, quick and to the point, easy to respond to messages, differentiate yourself from the others, check to make sure it's a good fit like what we talked about, set up the next steps, and keep following up. So the next step is just commitments, right? Like the next step is like, hey, what's a great number to reach you at? Or hey, when's the next show? I'd love to stop by and take a look. Like there's small little commitments, and we'll get into that in a minute. You don't want to go like, hey, nice to meet you, here's a ring, let's get married tomorrow. It might work great, but you don't want to do that. Like, you got to date for a little bit. So now on the right side of the triangle, we want to make it easy to say yes, because what a lot of wrestlers have a problem with is they either hear no or they get ignored, and getting ignored is the worst. So we talked about this earlier. We want to make it easy to say yes by being low risk and high reward. So in order to understand low risk, high reward, let's see the flip, the opposite of that. So what's a high risk, low reward scenario? Well, a really low reward, high risk is wrestler sends an email. They look pretty generic. They don't really have a character. Their body is average. They sent out a 5 paragraph email that's gonna, like, it's blocks of text, and they're gonna really have to spend some time to read that thing. They asked for a tape study review. Please watch this and give me all the notes. Like, and it's just, and like, oh, if you bring me in, uh, I'm gonna charge you $500, right? Like, it's a really, it's a lot of work for a little. You see? Do you get that, right? Like, in order for them to even like see if they're interested in you, they gotta read this big thing. They gotta send you a tape review. Like, you're already asking for something, and you're already asked them to do work before they even know that they're interested. And if you don't have anything to offer, like in that first step, the confidence piece, when you have something of value to offer, it makes it even worse. So a high risk wrestler is a wrestler that's pretty generic, asking for a lot up front, maybe not a booking, but like asking for a lot of energy and effort and resources, like, oh, please read this and do all that stuff, and you know and they're going to bother you see. But a low risk, high reward wrestler is someone that has great character, great look, high energy. They're not asking for the world off the top of like, and they're just being conversational. All you want to do, guys, is just sell them on the next step. Just sell them on the next step. The next step is a conversation. The next step isn't like, hey, nice to meet you, please book me for WrestleMania. The next step is like, hey, when can we meet? The next step is, when can we get on the phone for 5 minutes? The next step is like, hey, you got a show coming up. I'm gonna go there just to say hi to you, right? Like, it's like just really simple stuff that you're not like, hey, how you doing? My name is such and such. Love to work for you someday. I got a great character. Check out the demo reel. See if we're a great fit. It's like there's no pressure, you see. And if you can come in and have something really awesome to offer them, it's a huge upside for them at very little risk. And then be someone worth bringing. Like, be easy to deal with. Bring, add value. And I want to talk about this phrase for a minute, because I think add value has become a buzzword. And I don't think people really know what that means. Add value in wrestling has been taken to mean set up the ring for free, help out, set up the chairs, volunteer, work for free, like all this, like add value. Add value doesn't mean do free, cheap labor. That's all helpful stuff, but the value you want to bring to the show is your energy, your impact, your character, your charisma. You're going to be a draw. You're going to get people into the seats. I think what's happened is like wrestling has gone on like a downward spiral, and I mean this in a really good way. But there's a phrase like lowest common denominator. And so what wrestlers do is they go, well, I want to get bookings, so I'm going to be cheaper than everybody else, and I'm going to do more free stuff than everybody else. And so and I'm going to sacrifice more. So like, instead of getting better, they just sacrifice more, you see? And like help out more, do more free stuff. And the promoters are happy to take that on, but you want to have an upward spiral where you don't want to go cheaper, you don't want to go free, maybe you have to. What you want to do is develop yourself, grow yourself, get a better body, get a better character, draw more people into the crowd, get merchant, like actually grow yourself, so that way you're building yourself up, and your value is now you're a awesome package. Wrestlers don't get better and become world class by like going to the lowest common denominator, right? It's almost like, for example, if you're in business and you have a product and it's going pretty well, someone's like, yeah, well, I know you're using that product, but I got a lesser product that's not as good, but I'm cheaper. And then everybody goes to that one. You see, like, wrestlers or promoters too are doing one downsmanship instead of one upsmanship. right? So I think if you can get in the habit of increasing your worth, increasing your value, creating a character, being more well known, adding to your arsenal, that's how you add more value. It's not by decreasing your stuff and doing it for free. It's by actually becoming that person that deserves all of that. Does that make sense? So here's the process that I see happens, like being someone to worth bringing in. We want to do easy commitments. So what I said though first is many wrestlers start out where they go for the jugular right away. So here's what you want to avoid. Step one, your intro. Step two, entire life story. Say nothing, ask for money. Step three, you get ignored or you're told no. You never follow up. Step four, you get sad, bitter, quit the business, and complain on social media. we don't want to do that. What we want to do instead is your first intro, they respond to you with some level of interest. You have a normal, low pressure conversation, or you meet up with them somewhere, or you have you give them your demo. And step four is you work out the details and you get booked. It's real easy, right? Like it's what, and I want to make sure I'm explaining this right. People go from either step one to step four and they think that's it. Here's the intro, here's my info, I got to get booked, right? Play a little bit of a long game. Intro, converse a little bit, there's some interest, low pressure conversation, meet them, send them a demo reel. But it's just not like, hey, nice to meet you, let's work, right? It's draw it out a little bit more, you see? And then you work out the details and get booked. We can go much more in depth than that, but I want to give you a broad overview. Let me know below in the comment section, what is the number one thing you got from this today? We're trying out a little bit of a different format and I want to see how it works. So what's the number one thing you got from it today? And what's your number one biggest aha moment? And post that below. And yeah, once again, this was how to get booked without being awkward. And if you guys need more help with anything, comment below, direct message me. We have different things available for you if you need more help. And we'll talk to you soon. So take care, guys.